All right, we won't be too long here. We'll, being the last one here and all, I only have about 10 slides, but a number of sites to look at, and it kind of depends on how many questions you ask. But I thought maybe even before I started here, just almost a little nostalgia. 2017. Does anybody remember that the Webmasters user group started in 2007? So this is the 10-year ongoing meeting here. I thought that was unique that way. I don't know how many, I'm almost afraid to ask this question because it shows my age, but how many were here back in 2007? Oh, we got a few, about 5 or so, or 6. Maybe some that I don't want to show their hand. I don't know. So a lot has changed since then, hasn't it? Because we started with 2007 with the 2007 template, and now we're at version 5. 5 in 10 years. That's a pretty good turnaround. A lot of changes have gone on since then. So today we want to present to you the CA Web publishing service that we have placed out there and give you an update on it and what's been going on with it. Is my clicker right here? Does this work? Oh, well, there we go. So I just have a few slides here. This will be the what we'll be presenting today. First, I want to just do an update on the CA Web service and where we are. The last time that we were here, we told you that we had announcement that we were switching the underlying CMS over to WordPress, an open source platform. Since then, we're going to kind of go over what has happened. A lot has. Been working a lot on our side with our team and all that's doing it. A lot of them are here today. We have fully integrated the state theme for the version 5 into this, into our product. We've additionally integrated a lot of functionality. This is beyond even the core WordPress functionality that's there, security, related security, content display modules, feed displays, application embeds, dynamic table displays. There's even more than that. We have also incorporated public-facing and back-end-facing the TLS, SSL, the security on the front and the back end, where the web is basically gone to now. The browsers are now notifying everybody if you don't have it on any website that you go to, even if it's just a non-authenticated one. So we've got that on service. We have support for our intranets via authentication. You might say that's kind of a little bit different notion of the thought of an intranet, because usually intranets, if you think about it, the old style was that I'm inside and I'm at my department so I can get onto the intranet, and so it's kind of a firewall type thing. But now I'm outside and I'm on my phone, how do I get to that intranet that way? And so basically what we've created is you just have a login access, you get in, and now you can get into that intranet site. The site is not visible unless you log in. Simple implementation, but you've extended it for those people who are no longer working inside the office. Customized user roles. We are currently hosting 20+ sites, very rapidly working that way, and actually got just about as many that are in the works that want to get on the service. So it's been growing very, very quickly. We're now an official CDT offered service, and you can find it at this link, and I will show you later on where that page actually is. So, presenting to you now our showcase of sites that are already on the service. As I said, there's about 20 that are already there. And one of the things we wanted to point out in this is that we are eating our own dog food, so to speak. We have these 3 sites that we have in the service that we use regularly. Web Tools, for example, the one that you often see. We have our core site for the CA Web publishing service. We've had it in there for a long time, the tech blog, and then just more recently, the Department of Technology, California Department of Technology, has redesigned their site and put it into this WordPress platform. And if you haven't seen it, it's beautiful. They did a wonderful job. Art back here actually led the effort with a whole bunch of people working together. And in a very short time, they didn't just move a site into the service. They actually did a major redesign to how we present information in a more customer-friendly way without them having to know what our department looks like to find that information. So we'll demonstrate that a little bit later, but to do that is a lot more effort than just kind of migrating the site over. A lot of these customers came over with their content and they just kind of moved it straight on over. And we can do that, but sometimes it's nice to think a little bit differently about how to present your content. There's a lot more effort, of course. So I wanted to showcase a couple sites that are in our service here today. And first we'll go to if I can get that thing out. There we go. This is Delta. They are in our service, and they are running version 4 of the state template. And so you can run version 4. We are actually, when we put in new customers, we are, I don't know if we've made it a requirement yet or not. Maybe somebody could tell me, but we are strongly pushing the version 5 version of the state template. But you can use, currently these sites, there's different ones that are in there. This is OAL. They are using version 5 of the state template. And then, let's see, I think I'm going to have to do a little switching here to be able to get access to the tab. This is the CDT site that was redesigned into the new state template. And this is where we've done a totally redesign of the site completely. If some of you are not familiar, the state template design is running on top of a theme that we are running within the WordPress service called Divi. And because we're running it as basically a child theme on top of this professionally developed Divi theme, there's just a whole bunch of core modules that become available to us to be able to publish content with. And so a lot of what you're seeing as far as being displayed here has to do with those content modules that were already made available to us that we leverage to show the site. And so this is another interesting thing about implementing sites and being able to do it with WordPress. Depending on who you are, how big you are, and how complex your requirements are, some sites just simply go in there as a typical single WordPress site. This one right here, CDT, actually is one website to the public, but for right now, and it may expand further in this, it's actually internally 2 websites, because we have a service catalog, and the service catalog is so drastically different from the rest of the content in terms of how it's structured and in terms especially of who administers that website. And so what we've done is we've put an implementation of WordPress here where we're doing what's called multi-site, but we're doing it by subdirectories. So I'm going to take you to another site in here, but it's going to look the same thing to you as the public. I'm going to go to this services portion of the site, which is right here. It's also up here in the menu structure, so we'll just go there. And actually, even though when it comes up here, it looks, and it should look, like the same website in every way, it's actually internally to WordPress a separate site. So we can basically segregate different people to update different portions of the site, and we can actually, it makes it a lot easier to manage all the content that's related to it. So inside this, because we are CA Web Publishing, we are one of the services of the Department of Technology, of course, we have our presence also inside the site. And again, using different functions that are just already there, part of the service and all. One thing I want to point out too is another part of it, this area of rates right here has a unique implementation of what we've done. What you're seeing is a table of the various rates that are related to CA Web. This is actually one huge big table in a plugin that's within WordPress called TablePress. And what we've done is we've made it so that the people who maintain the rates, which is again another area within our department, all they have to do is maintain this table. This table is then using what's called the shortcode technologies that are within, that are just core part of the WordPress. We just implement the ones that we want to show up on particular places, because we've got, I don't know, 50, 100 services or more, whatever it is in here. I don't know how many are in the service catalog. And they're all in this one table, but when you go to that one service, you're only seeing the rows that are related to the rates for that service. So we actually have kind of, in a sense, a division of 3 different areas responsibility within the site. And again, this is just the beginning part of what we're doing. We have other content still to pull into the site. So we may have to create another administrative area within the site also. The public will know nothing about it, but it will be separately administered internally. Now this is again for more complex type of site implementations that we would do this type of thing. So I mentioned that we do use this for just about everything, including, this is a little bit of a more unique way, I guess you could say, to support a service by the California Department of Technology, is that we have our own service site related to CA Web for supporting users and information about our service. So in the service here right now, we've got all our information, and we have news and questions and different things that come in through this. What I wanted to do here was basically show you a little bit about how easy it is to publish on here, because what I'm going to have to do is, I'm doing this presentation right now, we're going to publish it onto the site. So here's what it looks in the back end in WordPress. And if any of you have ever used WordPress, at least this portion down the left here, it looks pretty familiar and pretty common to you. WordPress is so commonly used, it's I think over 26% of the whole World Wide Web runs on WordPress. And so there isn't anything that comes even close to that in second place. This particular interface where you're seeing right here, this Divi Builder, this is the part that came with that Divi theme that we have built our theme on top of. And so having that, we have a whole bunch of functionality that can just be pulled into here by just opening up and inserting a little module and inserting content in whatever form I want. For example, that one home page I showed for CDT that had a very long thing of all kinds of different content. Inside the Divi Builder, it has all those different boxes and sections. It's all built right through this interface right here. So this is the page that I want to be able to display that's going to be for my presentation that we're actually doing today. So typically if I want to edit any particular area, this one's just a simple little text area. I just click on that. It opens up its own little text area there where I can make my text and change, and I've made a link to the actual presentation, which I've already published. I can, through this Divi interface, preview just the content that's part this section of the page here, and this is what it's pulling up for me right here, right now. So this is what I would display within the context of the whole website. That's a preview at that level. Oh, you can, huh? I'm not even, see, Art's a lot more familiar with this than I am. Which button are you talking about? Okay. Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I didn't even notice that there. So now I can go down to the mobile view and actually in here and see what it would look like and how it would form. Now this is obviously not the whole page. It's just showing me the content in that previous section. So of course you also have the ability, it's actually standard with WordPress to be able to do a preview at that level. And so this page has not been published yet, and this is what the page I can preview it to look at it to see, of course. Now, what I'm going to just kind of do here quickly, I would rather put that image over here and the text on the other side. This is just very simple drag and drop type stuff that you can do with this. And then I can go ahead and do the preview again. And now, just switch it around. So I'm just kind of giving you a quick little preview, not a lot of detail on it. But the fact is, it's a very simple interface to use to move around and to rearrange your site and how you want it. I need to publish this out, and for example, let's say I need it before I publish it, somebody needs to look at it and approve it. I can go ahead and save a draft of the page. And now, it still is not published yet. I have the ability after that to be able to enable a public preview, which gives me a URL here, which I can go and embed in an email, send it to somebody. Nobody else, this is a very obscure URL, but I can send it to my director or whoever that is, and then they can look at that and tell me whether they approve it or not, of course. In addition, WordPress has its own simple core product of internal workflow functionality for people who are authenticated to the system. But this is nice because I don't have to have somebody have to log into WordPress to approve this or to tell me that they approve of it. And also, I don't have to expose it to the web for them to have to see it. I've got it as this obscure URL, and then I can show it to them. There's also a plug-in that we're looking to in the future that will even more further expand on potential workflow that you can do in the system. But the interesting part is, and probably Mark, I think could probably validate this for me, I've heard it from other folks at Simsoft who have done a lot of website implementations for agencies. Agencies typically think they need complex workflows until they implement them. And once they implement them, they realize, no, I just want a simple workflow. And it's usually just about two-step is typically what most of the time it reflects. Yeah. So it's kind of one of those thoughts. It's something that you think you need until you have it, and then you realize, I don't want this, because it's just too much work to have to work with it. So anyway, I'm going to go ahead, and another thing, of course, this is like any CMS. I can also tell this that I want to publish this not necessarily right away, but I want to publish this. Is that right? About 11:41. Is that the time right now? I got that right? So let's publish this maybe, that clock is a little fast, I guess. Is that right? Must be. So I'm going to go ahead and say I want to publish it a little bit ahead of time that way. Go ahead and schedule this for publishing. And so this page still is not, even though this is my preview screen, it is not available out on the web yet, but it will be shortly. So if I had some reason to have to go somewhere, I wanted something to show up as far as a post or a news article, because the director is going to be giving a speech at 10, or 1 o'clock this afternoon, and I don't want this showing up until 5 minutes before his speech. I could actually schedule it, go off to lunch, and not worry about it, right? And then it'll show up at the right time. Okay, so I think I want to get back to my presentation slides. Slide. All right, we did this. We did this already. I showed you the CA website. I just got done doing that with you. So some of what is on the horizon. We want to be able to enable two-factor authentication to strongly control, of course, the access to how you get to this, because the reality is, being that this is on the web, you can update your site anywhere, anytime. But at the same time, we want to strengthen that control to getting to the site and who can publish to your site. As I mentioned earlier, extended workflow capability. Extended document management features. Actually, in it already, we have extended some of the document management features that are in there. One of them that's nice is that you put out a document, and it more reflects the way you do things in terms of static sites right now. But in a CMS, typically when you upload another document or another version of the document, that's another document in the system, and all your pages aren't necessarily linking to it. So we've extended WordPress's functionality so that when you upload a new document, or you want to just basically replace one that's there, you can upload and replace it and not have to redo all your links and all that are in your system. It just helps facilitate an easier way, because we are, as state agencies, very heavy into document publishing, PDFs all over the place. So we've had that. There's also an ability that we have one that we're going to want to be incorporating soon, where WordPress, as a typical CMS, kind of comes from a blogging platform background, has the ability to categorize and tag what's called post type of content, or post types of pages. And what we are wanting to do with a plugin is we're going to extend that to the documents, because currently the documents are part of the media library and all of that. And WordPress's core functionality isn't as strong on document management, so we're extending it to incorporate some stronger capabilities where you can start applying categories and tags to documents so that you can more in a quicker way get to that type of content and manage it. And in addition, hopefully in the future, our plan, well, I shouldn't say hopefully, there is a plan to update this particular plugin to where you're able to display documents in a more dynamic way, leveraging those categories and tags. Whereas now they're basically placed in as links onto pages and things of that nature, as they typically are on the web. Visual Builder. I mentioned and I showed you how we have that kind of Power Builder back-end interface. There is a capability that's built into Divi now. We're just being very careful about how and when we roll it out, where you will be able to go to the front end of the page and edit it from there. There's some things that are nicer and easier to do that, especially if you got a text change or whatever, that type of stuff to do. But there's some other things that aren't quite as evident that are better to be done in the back end. So we're being a little bit careful about how we roll it out, and we'll have definitely some training related to that. Events calendar and event registration coming. We're planning on incorporating a very nice capability into that soon. And then also back-end embedded Google Analytics dashboard. I think the early one mentioned about, everybody has Google Analytics, and I've been around for years, helped them implement Google Analytics and helped a lot of the webmasters do it. And I can just tell you by experience, they implement it, and then some have never asked for access to it. So I know they're not using it hardly. And we even tried to do a workshop relating to it about Google Analytics, and we found amongst all the state agencies, there's really, back then, this is a couple of years ago, there was only one primary agency that really had a robust, methodical management strategy behind a performance-based way of publishing their content, and that was Franchise Tax Board, and they were leveraging analytics in a major way that way. A lot of the other ones just had it there. They would look at some stuff. Someone would put out a page, or maybe the director say, put out this document, I want to know how many people hit it, and that's about all that they're using it for. So we want to put it into the service itself. So when you log into the service and you're in the back end, there's your analytics, so that people are actually starting to look at it. And we're hoping that'll do something, maybe to cause people to look at it a little bit more and consider what you could do with it. The one guy mentioned was doing the QR codes, about embedding the UTM codes. Probably a year or two ago, we taught Michael about doing that. So when he sends out you the announcements about the Webmasters User Group, it goes out with those UTM codes embedded in the email, right? Is that how it is somehow? It's in, or is it in the page? It's in the URL. Okay, it's in the URL to the page. So when he finds out really how much you guys are responding to that email by the Google Analytics, and he can tell and track that type stuff. So there's all kinds of stuff that is just way beyond all this you can do with that. But anyway, that's a whole nother, I guess, presentation. But we want to help kind of get you exposed to it a little bit. So how do you onboard with us at CA Web? Well, of course, we've got that in our service site, and actually it's going to be probably moved into the main CDT site eventually in the future. Let's see, I can get to the tab here. That's not the one. Okay, I think I just need to go here.
Right there.
Yes, there we go. Thank you. And again, what's nice is these are just using these nice modules that are automatically available to us through the Divi. But the onboarding, basically, we encourage, we encourage this first phase to get people to basically look at their site and think about preparing. CDT, as I said, we're eating our own dog food, even in the process, right? CDT actually looked seriously at their site and did some major redoings on it prior to moving into the CMS. So we can tell you it's successful, and we can tell you it works very well. But it does take a team, and it takes real devotion to redesign your site. It has nothing to do with WordPress. It has to do with you redesigning it. But once you get it in there, the thing that we found is everybody was so impressed with how beautiful it looked after it was done. So phase one, preparing for onboarding. Phase two is where we do a site assessment. And at this point, this comes as a request to us. And then we schedule an engagement meeting with you, and then we do a thorough assessment of your site in the current form. We go out and look at it and see where it's at, how many pages, documents, what types of things you got in there, what kinds of specialized functionality you got in there. And even though you may have some specialized functionality in there, it doesn't mean we couldn't bring it into the site. CDT had some specialized functionality in different ways, and we were able to bring it in. But there's various different ways to do that, and we have to have those discussions with you and what you can do on your end to make that happen and to help us make that happen for you. There's usually depending on what it is. We can iframe things in, but there's some things that have to be considered in doing that so that it takes on the look and feel of the new site rather than some old implementation. We will, after doing that assessment, we'll meet with you to go over that assessment, and then we will create what we call an SOW, or a statement of work. And that statement of work is basically the product of this site assessment phase. Because basically, after talking with you and discussing all the things, it basically is an agreement, if you will, that says this is what we agree we can do for you. Because there's some things we can't do for you, and we need to make sure what is in scope and out of scope, and that we're all on the same page. And so if that is all plausible to you and all, as far as you coming on to our service, at that point you'll have to submit a service request to us along with that statement of work that tells the scope of work to be done, and then we just dig in and we start moving it over. Yes?
The department wanted to do the work themselves, leverage the tool and build up their own website.
Oh yes, absolutely, they can do that. We haven't run into one yet that wants to do that. Usually it's like, please take care of this, please, is the response that I guess you could say. But CDT certainly did that. It wasn't easy. It took a lot. It had a whole team just devoted doing it. We had a lot of students working on it along with the different ones. I don't know how many people total. We had project meetings, regular ones, to get it out there, and that was just to get it to the first phase. And we still have more work to be done, but to get the major portion done there where it's been redone completely, and you have to have executives engaged in it, and this is why it happened at CDT, because the state CIO said, I want it done, and says, I want to see what it looks like, and wanted to see the updates, and said, this is what I like, and this is what I don't like, and she drove it, and so it happened. So you've got to have that kind of sponsorship to be able to totally redo of your site. Otherwise, you just contact us, and we can suck it in and bring it in and make it look just as pretty or ugly as it used to look. Actually, it'll look prettier because it will be in the version 5. We actually, what we do when we bring it in, I say pretty and ugly, I should qualify that. We bring it into the state template, for example, bringing it into the version 5 of the state template, it's just going to naturally look better. What we do focus on doing is we try to do something to help you with that front page, because that's usually what people are most concerned about in terms of that first impression. And you may ever have some other sub-landing pages too. But you'll notice if you go through a CDT site, you'll see every page has been kind of redone in a major way. It's not very much plain vanilla out there anymore. You saw when I pulled up the CA Web, the service catalog, and in our service within that, it was a nice way to present a service. And so they have done that on all the different services. So they basically rolled up their sleeves and got serious about this. And it just depends on whether your department is that serious or not. But once we have done and we've built the site and all out, have you review it, and we're training you on that, and typically we like to leave some of the work to be done so you can get in there and work on it for a while. Then we all come to agreement one day to basically do the cutover and turn the production on. Okay, let me get my presentation. I am just about finished with what I wanted to go over, I believe. I am. So here's the additional resources. You have our CA website for information there. You have the service catalog page for information there of how to be able to get the service. So do we have any questions at this point? Any questions? Yes?
What's the biggest site that you guys have brought over?
Well, for us personally, because we were so involved with CDT, I would have to say it would be CDT in terms of work, because it was a total redesign, right? But as far as other customers, I don't know, can you guys, the other team here, who is a larger customer that we brought in? Was it DFEH or someone like that? Oh, Cal EPA. Brought in Cal EPA. That was a pretty big one. I don't know. Dave, do you know? Do you know how many pages Cal EPA had in documents or whatever? What, and then documents, here's the thing, this is what happens with a lot of the agencies, maybe they have 200, 300, or even 500 pages. You multiply that by 4 or more, and that's how many documents they've got in addition to those pages. I mean, it's not unusual to have something that had like 100 or 200 pages and they have a 2,000 PDFs that they uploaded and they're linking to. So that's kind of the thing. Now, so they're not the larger ones yet. We do have big ones that are inquiring with us. We had, I don't know if it's any big deal to say or whatever, we've had even Board of Equalization asking us about coming on. That's a huge site. And so they definitely would be an implementation similar to CDT. And what I mean by that is that they would be one site, but it would probably be multiple sites internally. That would be that way to divide up the content and how they would manage it. So the thing is we can scale up to whatever site we need to. That's not an issue here really at all, because what happens is when we implement for a larger customer, we implement a separate instance totally of the multi-site so that it is basically running as that separate instance, and all the content just there can expand from there. So there isn't an issue there. I mean, WordPress, if you're familiar with WordPress at all, you know that the largest implementation of WordPress is WordPress.com, and it's been out there for many years. There's probably millions of sites running on that, and that's a multi-site implementation. And so the scalability is just up to us in terms of hardware and network bandwidth and everything like that to do. The product can scale. Any other questions?
How long did it take you to convert the CDT website over to WordPress?
Well, where we did a total redesign, right, of the thing, and we had a lot of people. It was a focused concentration. What is it? Did Art leave? Oh, what was it? 2, 3 months?
I'd say probably a month for planning and getting all the years in order, and then about 2 months to actually implement next week. And that's fairly quick considering the scale. So a typical state website would probably take half that time or less.
Yeah. When you talk about the ones that we just kind of what we call suck in, we have basically developed a methodology and tools where we can go out to any site on the web, grab that content, and basically kind of suck it into WordPress in an initial form, and then from there we just manipulate it. And we've brought some sites over very quickly. I don't know how long. Yes?
Yeah, just trying to clarify that a little bit. So when they sign against the building stuff, we'll build their site, bring their data over.
Right.
Now it's their responsibility to get it under the team, unless, there's the additional process for our that's not.
Right, right.
The strategy with you guys figure out what you want the site to look like.
If you look at the service catalog for our service, we have various different charges for what we do. We have a site build, but then what he referred to was the migration of content. We bring all the content in, and then if you want us to work with you to arrange that completely, there's an additional charge for that type of work. That's what he's referring to. All right, I think we're running out of time, so